Welcome to my report, everyone. This is concrete and exposed aggregate. All right, let's get started. First off, vocabulary, everybody's favorite thing. So I picked some of the most important terms. There's kind of a lot, but bear with me. First, we have admixture, and this is a mixture added to the concrete to improve behavior of concrete under different conditions, such as increasing workability, water impermeability, and strength. Aggregate is the actual sand and stone mixed with cement and water to make the concrete. Bull floating, it takes place during installation, and it's after the screeding of the concrete. We'll get into this more when we talk about installation. But this is the process that pulls water and the concrete to the surface, and it really levels off the surface and packs down the aggregate. Cement is an ingredient in concrete, so be careful not to mistake concrete and cement for the same thing, interchangeable words, they're different. Cement is an ingredient, and it's made of limestone and clay combined with aggregate and water to make concrete. Compression strength is the capacity to withstand direct pushing forces on the concrete, and concrete tends to have low compression strength, or tensile strength at least. Concrete is composed stone-like material formed by mixing an aggregate with cement, which acts as the binding material, and water, then allowing the mixture to dry and harden. A concrete slab is a flat rectilinear reinforced concrete structural member, especially used for floors, roofs, pads, etc. Concrete masonry units, or CMU, are blocks cast of Portland cement and sustainable aggregate, with or without admixtures, and intended for laying up with other units as in normal stone masonry construction, also known as CMU or cinder block. And it's basically, if you've ever been to the dorms, the walls are made of cinder blocks. Cubic yard is the unit of measurement for concrete. Curing is maintaining the humidity and temperature of freshly placed concrete during some definite period following placing, casting, or finishing to assure satisfactory hydration of the sediments and proper hardening of the concrete. It's basically after you pour it all and you let it set, and you want to make sure the humidity and temperature is right so it can gain the proper strength for when it's dry. Exposed aggregate, a finish applied to concrete that involves seating the stones on top of the bed and using a flat to work the stones into the concrete. Hydraulic cement, cement that sets and hardens due to a chemical reaction with water. Lattience, a thin layer of fine, loosely bonded particles on the surface of fresh concrete caused by the upward movement of water. Mesh, also called welded wire fabric, is woven mesh of wire strands used to reinforce concrete slabs, and this is actually put into the concrete during installation. Portland cement is a product that sets and hardens when it chemically interacts with water, made by burning a mixture of limestone and clay or similar materials. Precast concrete is concrete that is formed off the site and shipped to the job site. Rebar is just like the wire mesh, but a different type of material, but it's reinforcing bar that is typically made of steel and set into the concrete to increase the strength of tension of the concrete. Ready mixed concrete, batched or mixed at the central plant before delivery to the job site for placement. Reinforced concrete, concrete construction that has steel rebars or welded wired mesh embedded in it to provide greater tolerance to tension and stress. Screed is an installation process of strike-off in which excess wet concrete is leveled after pouring with a straight edge pulled across the surface, and that's what you see in the picture below. All right, pros and cons of concrete. So the pros for concrete is that it is affordable, cost-efficient, sustainable, energy-saving. There are no harmful VOCs in the making of it or installation. Minimizes waste of materials, for example with carpet pads, or floor coverings. Many designs and finish options are available with concrete. It's long-lasting and durable, has easy maintenance, and improves indoor air quality by not hiding bugs or dusts in the floor. It's fire resistant. The materials are available all over the world, and it is easily shaped. The cons to concrete is that it usually needs professional installation, It's a hard surface that becomes uncomfortable after a while of standing on it. It's a very cold surface. High traffic areas require resealing every few months, or even more than that if it's like in a mall or whatnot. Custom designs can sometimes be pricey. Small tensile strength, or small strength under longitudinal stress. If unsealed, is sensitive to acidic liquids, and it is very, very heavy. Method of measurement, cubic yards. So the formula for that is multiply the area in square feet by the depth or thickness of the particular slab to be poured in feet, then divide by 27. We've dealt with that before. Installation. Okay, I broke this down to a 4-step installation process. So step 1, you're going to want to prep the site, and you're going to want to set all your woodwork and foundations and to pour the concrete in. Step 2 is placement. So you're going to pour your concrete and try not to drag it, which means don't pour it at one end of the site and drag it all the way to the other. Try and pour where it's going to set. And then you're going to vibrate the concrete as soon as it is poured to rid the concrete, sorry, it says right, it's supposed to say rid the concrete of soil and air bubbles and allow the wet concrete to settle in. And this is, very important, especially where it's a softer soil. The next step is to screed the concrete, and this is obtaining a level surface, and so it's done by dragging an aluminum or wood or magnesium straight edge across the top of the poured concrete. And then lastly, you're going to want to bull float the concrete, which is very similar to screeding, but you use a different type of tool. It's almost kind of like a Swiffer, like a giant Swiffer. And the process brings the water in the concrete to the surface so it can evaporate easily, so you'll have less cracking. And then it also packs down the aggregate and just makes a very smooth surface to the top of the concrete so it can dry. All right, step 3 is finishing. So there are a couple different types of finishes. The floated swirl is patterns such as a swirl or an arc that can be created, as seen in that picture right there. And then wire combing, you use a wire to comb the surface, just like it sounds. Burlap drag utilizes the process of dragging or impressing a burlap material into the surface, and it looks like there's a picture right there. And then lastly, broom is a light or coarse broom that you drag across the concrete, and that's usually found in sidewalks and driveways. You can go out and see it outside. And then there's also other types of finishes if you want an aesthetically pleasing look for like the interior of your house, but we'll get into those later. All right, step 4 is curing. Curing is to concrete as drying is to paint. This process is where the water evaporates from the concrete, drying it and setting it. Curing allows concrete to gain its proper strength. Wet curing keeps the concrete surface damp for a few days after it's poured. An example, you can use misting from a hose, or you can use a curing compound, which is a chemical that seals the moisture into the concrete. Temperature for installing concrete is very important. It should be between 70 and 75 degrees for the first 3 to 7 days because you don't want it to dry too fast or get too wet and then there's too much moisture and it'll crack when it does dry. And then you should protect the fresh poured concrete from rain for at least 24 hours. And then it usually takes about 7 days to completely cure. I didn't mention that, but maintenance. You need to reseal concrete every 2 years in very low traffic areas. In high traffic areas, you're going to want to do it every couple months, but I have some videos on that. Sweeping for day-to-day cleaning. Clean with vinegar or a gentle floor cleaner. You want to watch out for acid cleaners, especially on unsealed concrete, because it will discolor the concrete. And then I found in a book for concrete countertops, but I'm sure this could work on floors too. To remove deep stains, you use one of these diamond grit pads. Scrub the stain off, and then you wash it with water, and then you can polish and reseal the concrete. Quality differences. So here are 3 different types of cement. Type 1 cement is the most common type of Portland cement. It's the least expensive, but it tends to shrink and crack more than the other 2. This is mostly used in sidewalks, driveways, and retaining walls. Type 2 cement is used for countertops and kitchens. It's more aesthetically pleasing, and it needs 7 days to harden and gain strength. Type 3 cement gains strength in 3 days, It's equally as strong as type 2, it just gains the strength quicker. And it's good to work with on-site pouring or in extreme weather where it's very, very hot or very, very cold, because that affects how the concrete dries. All right, then we have sand and aggregate. This is made of natural crushed rock and gravel, and which strengthens the concrete. Next, we have admixtures, which are ingredients added into concrete to gain different results like water, reducers, fibers, pigments. We talked about that in the vocab. It's just stuff to give the concrete different, if you need different needs for different temperatures, for example. All right, next is a water reducer, which is a type of admixture, and allows less water to be used in the making of concrete. And then we have fibers, which basically just give the concrete added strength. Pigments are colors added to the concrete. The most common are black, browns, and reds, and then blues and greens are much rarer and in turn more expensive. Retarders keep concrete workable for longer amounts of time, and it's recommended in very hot weather where the concrete is likely to dry out faster. Slump is a measure of workability for the concrete. It measures how much fresh concrete settles once poured into a cone-shaped mold. If 1 inch settles, it will be very dry concrete, and 12 inches will be very wet, so it's on a 1 to 12 inch scale. All right, concrete and straw. Instead of using steel mesh to increase the tensile strength in concrete, straw can be used. It is less expensive and more sustainable. All right, here we have some varieties of products. The first kind of concrete is litricon, which is concrete invented by a Hungarian architect named, I'm going to butcher this name, so bear with me, Aaron Lozonci. And this concrete is embedded with optical glass fibers that reflect light. Somehow the word light got cut off. And then we have papercrete, which is a lightweight concrete that absorbs lots of moisture, but it can lead to mold problems. So you want to make sure to look into that, and especially on how to maintain that for that specific type of concrete. All right, then we have concrete masonry units, which we talked a little bit about this in the vocab, but they're concrete blocks. There's a picture right there. And the standard size is 8 inch by 8 inch, and they're used to build walls in areas where strength, durability, and volume control are concerned. So examples, elementary schools or the dorms, etc. All right, then we have the concrete slab and structural units. Most of you are probably familiar with this because this is what we see a lot. But it's also called concrete decking. It's prefabricated, reinforced, and brought to the site. Sizes come from 15 to 32 inch width and 4 to 10 inch length with a 2 to 4 inch thickness. All right, concrete pipe, there's two types. The first picture is the bell, and the second picture is the spigot. They can be purchased in length from 4 to 6 feet with a 4 to 6 inch diameter, and that's non-reinforced, or a 12 to